Yo, what's good, everyone? Welcome back to the final NCAA college football preview. This time, got the SEC conference preview coming up here. As always, if you're watching us on YouTube, just like, subscribe to the Knicks, Jets, etc. channel. Hit us up on our Twitter, Winning P Weekly. As always, joined by our Knicks, Jets, etc. co-host and video producer. What up, Greg?
What's going on, fellas? Ready to talk a little SEC football, save the best for last. Ready to talk a little week 0, too, because college football's here. It's football season. What's going on, fellas?
That's right. We're doing the SEC preview and a little week 0 here because it snuck up on us, boys. What's up, Chip?
What's up, guys? Ready to talk about how Nebraska's going to win week 0 in Ireland.
I can't wait to talk about that week 0 game. I don't give a damn about that game, but now I care about it so much. And I'm so excited, which is the point of this podcast. Speaking of things we all have to care about, Nick Saban got that lifetime extension to Alabama. He makes us not care about the national championship because he's going to win it this year. But we all have to care about the SEC. So let's just start there, boys. Chip, who's your favorite team in the SEC not named Alabama? Because I'm just going to assume that we all think Alabama's going to win the conference. I know that I'm on the national championship every other year, Saban. We all know how that works. So I'll just give it up to you. Who owns this conference this year? Who's the champion? And where are you leaning on the overs here?
Well, Alabama's the champion. They're going to win the conference. But Alabama, we were talking about this earlier, Alabama's boring now. Yeah, Georgia's kind of boring now too. Like, Alabama's going to dominate. We all know this. They're going to win. I kind of like their over on FanDuel because their over is for them to run the table. Their over is their over is 11.5 for them to run the table. And I think they can do that. Plus 120. So I kind of like that. There's no real crazy expertise you need to throw analysis you need to throw out there. I think Alabama's just going to kick everybody's ass and win. I just think they're really good. But again, Alabama's boring. Like, they're going to be in the college.
Right? It's only one real game on their schedule versus Auburn, and I don't even think that's a real game. I guess Auburn. At Ole Miss.
No, I think the Tennessee game will be tough. I think at Tennessee will be tough. Well, then again, me and you disagree because that was my actual
A&M. I think could be tough. I think if you listen to the Big 12 episode, Chip is all over Texas. At Texas could be tough week 2. If Texas is the real deal, 14 points. It's one of the lowest spreads on the sheet. I mean,
dude, Utah State, Texas, ULM, and Vanderbilt, and then Arkansas is unbelievable.
Arkansas could be tough. Arkansas is not a bad team.
That's where it starts. You go to Arkansas. You come back versus A&M. You go to Tennessee. Then you got Mississippi State, and then you're kind of chilling. You go to LSU. That's easy. Ole Miss. I guess that's a hard one at Ole Miss.
But it's harder. I don't think anything's hard for this Alabama team, though.
Yeah.
I think they're going to run the table, probably.
Okay, Greg, you have run the table as well?
Probably. Yeah, I like them. If I'm going to bet them, I'm going to like them to win the national championship, and I'm going to take that in parlays more than actually bet it straight up.
I don't think I'm going to – yeah, I agree. I don't think I'm going to waste, too much money betting on their over. I think I'm just going to – I agree with Greg, just put them in national championship parlays. But I like Ohio State too, but I think that's where the money is.
So Chip, on FanDuel, you could take a bet that's either Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State to win. Feels like that's free money.
You and I are so degenerates, John. That's literally what I was scrolling to ask you guys if you saw these on
I've seen that.
I've seen that page.
I've seen that. But
I had that in so many parlays, Greg.
Oh, really? Because I was going to say, I kind of like the field. Plus 270.
Who's the field?
Everyone else.
The field. Who? Who's everyone else?
Could be Clemson, could be Oklahoma, could be Oregon if you listen to you, could be Utah State, it could be Utah. I mean, if you listen to me, I mean, I don't know. It could be a lot of people if you have the whole rest of college football plus 270.
I don't like how it says you can pick Alabama or Georgia, but you can't pick Alabama or Ohio State. I hate that.
Me too. But you could do Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State. I think that's like a -110 or something.
Yeah, but it's gonna be one of those 3 teams.
Yeah,
it's gonna win it.
but I want to actually jump to Georgia here and get your guys' thoughts on that, because obviously we know what they did last year. In my opinion, they should be number 2, right? They're ranked number 3 in the rankings in all of college football. So it's Bama, Ohio State, and then Georgia. Do you guys see Georgia having another great year and challenging Bama?
I do. You said earlier, you asked Chip to start this off, who's the champ of the SEC? I think he said Alabama. Last I checked, I thought it was Georgia. I like them a lot this year.
I thought we were talking about this year.
Oh, okay. I was saying because I like Georgia a lot. They return not as many as you like on defense, but that's because everyone went in the first round. They have a pipeline. They know what they're doing. I don't think Georgia's one of these teams that's going to take 2 or 3 years to reload. They're not going to be as good on defense. We all knew that. But I think there's a chance that their defense is still top 25 in the country, top 10 in the country. And their offense returns 7, including the quarterback. Don't really like the quarterback too much, but what can you do? You won a national championship.
And 3 of 5 on offensive linemen, including the left tackle who played in the national championship, not Broderick Jones, but I mean Broderick Jones. That's the guy who stepped in, but not their starting left tackle.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I mean, and you look at their schedule, the over's 10.5. It's crazy odds. But if you look at their schedule, that allows you 2 losses. I don't know who they're losing to. I think they have a chance to run the whole table. I mean,
What's up, Chip?
Versus Oregon might be their toughest game.
I was about to say,
so you guys are low on Tennessee then, is what I'm hearing.
Of course,
always, every year. It's another one. Every year I'm down on Tennessee. You know what it is?
Feel like 98, Chip?
You know what it is too, Chip? Last year I was down on Tennessee. I still bet them against Pittsburgh, and they broke my heart. That game was terrible to watch. It was in Tennessee. It was that ugly orange everywhere, and it was just touchdown after touchdown. No one played a lick of defense. It's always feeling like 98 until it's week 4 or 5, and then it's not. So
I'm high on Tennessee.
Wow.
One of my best friends went to Tennessee. She's very pessimistic about Tennessee football. I'm in on them this year. Plus 450 on FanDuel to win 10 games. I look at their schedule and I see the Alabama game at home and the Georgia game on the road as their 2 guaranteed losses. I actually think they can beat Georgia, maybe. Like, go in there and beat Georgia. I think their offense is going to be top 5 in the nation. Hendon Hooker was incredible last year. 31 touchdowns, 3 picks, almost 3,000 yards. I mean, he's only going to get better. Obviously, he's super young, but I don't know, man. I know they're all offense. I know that
all offense, Chip. Defense, passing yards per game, 124th in the country.
I know. But look, their defense can only get better. Their defense can only get better is the way I'm looking at it. And their defense from the year before that, their defense was actually better. In 2021, their defense actually got better. It's the crazy thing. That's how I was looking at it. I don't know. I guess I'm betting on the offense being so good that the defense can just be, I don't know, like average. Like, I mean, the projections that I'm seeing them at, the defense is top 5 on the SP plus projections that ESPN does. They have Tennessee is 9th overall. And
you know that meme of the person just staring at the screen like
Wait, they had the ninth
That's me
best
looking at
defense
you.
in the country, or the ninth best
No,
defense
no.
in the
The
conference?
ninth overall because they have their projected. Yes, because their offense is projected to be fourth in the country, and they have
Okay.
their defense to be projected 43rd in the country. Which, if their defense was 43rd in the country, that would be a massive accomplishment, in my opinion. That would be huge for them, and that would be enough for them. And I don't know. It's not like they don't have good players on the. They have a lot of talent on the team. I don't know. Like Jeremy Banks is really good. The linebacker they have. Look, I think Josh Heupel's a good coach. I just think they can obviously score a lot of points, and I don't know. That I'm looking at their schedule too. I think they easily not. I think they easily actually. What am I talking about? I think Pitt's going to stink. I think they easily start 3-0, and then they play Florida at home. I think they'll win that one. They're at LA.
That's where we're starting. Yeah.
Florida's. You're high on Florida, really? They're all they
Yeah.
lost with a rookie head coach. Not a rookie head coach, with a head coach.
That's the only thing.
Wait, before we go
Yeah.
to Florida though, because I do want to finish off Tennessee real quick. So you see what two? You were going down the schedule. So Florida, you think's a win. What about LSU? What about Kentucky? What about South Carolina?
I actually like South Carolina this year.
So do I.
I do. I have an over on South Carolina, so that's one game I am a little nervous about because that would be a classic Tennessee loss. Yes, I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous about that one.
At LSU,
But
not worried.
I actually have Kentucky under. So spoiler alert on that one. Kentucky, I think they've overachieved recently. The past few years, I took the under on them. But you make a good point because that's at South Carolina too. I think South Carolina's going to be good. I think Shane Beamer's great coach. That one, Alabama and Georgia, obviously the most concerning. I actually think at South Carolina would be a classic. Them coming in with a great record on the road at South Carolina, that would be a total trap game because they got Vanderbilt next week looking to kick the crap out of their quote unquote rival to end the season. I think South Carolina could be a tough one. You're right.
Yeah, but if you're betting them to win 10 games, at that point you could just hedge it out with South Carolina.
Yeah,
You know,
and I
if you have
probably
2 losses on the whole
I
season.
probably would.
Yeah.
I probably would because I am high on South Carolina.
And you said
I'm
Tennessee. You said Tennessee to win 10 was how many? Was plus 400?
Plus 450.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it. And I mean, you can't their over was juiced too. I honestly I don't even remember what it is because it was so not worth taking. But what was it? You can't take them to win the SEC. You can't take them to win the SEC East because I don't think they're going to beat. I don't think that's a great bet. Yeah, to do that, but I think to win 10 games is a safer one. But you know what? Actually, screw that. I've talked myself into betting them to win the SEC East. I don't give a shit.
What are the odds on that?
I'm going for it on that. I don't care.
What are the odds on that?
While you find the odds on that though, real quick, again, 120 something ranked defense in the country last year. Their best defensive back and their best top pass rusher are gone this season.
Yeah, well, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, the word star gets thrown around a lot. Yeah. This blurb I have. I don't know if you can have a star defensive lineman or a star defensive back when you're 120th in the country. So.
But you don't want to lose the best guy out on that
team, yeah, that's true. But
a lot of transfers.
Finishing with the 40th something defense, that seems like a tall order for this team. Offense is going to be great. I agree. John, you were talking about Florida a little bit. Florida was an intriguing one for me. I was thinking about putting them on my over, but then I talked myself into something else. So, do you like Florida as an over?
Man, I love Florida as an over. Let's just talk about the actual schedule here at first. There's, I would say, 2 guaranteed losses on the schedule with Georgia. And I'm going to say A&M. Just giving some respect to A&M here.
Yep.
After that, it gets dicey, right?
Why are you giving respect to A&M?
I don't know.
They beat Alabama last year. Didn't they?
Okay.
Your crown champion.
Okay, whatever.
What's up? What's up, Chip? Do you have something to say about A&M?
No, I just feel like we do this all the time. A team gets a great recruiting class and they're a top 10 team all of a sudden. Like it was just a recruiting class. Like we did, North Carolina was in the top 10 last year because they had a great recruiting class. And look what happened. Like,
I
I
like that
mean,
take.
yeah, I'm not ready to anoint Texas A&M into being in the same league as some of these other elite SEC teams.
Okay.
Yeah.
You think Florida can go in the College Station and win? I think that's going to be a tough one. I think that's an A&M. I think that's an A&M dub.
I'm not even super high on Florida, but I don't think it's like a guarantee. Like, oh no one can win in College Station. It's scary. Like, how can you?
If that's the case,
Yeah, so maybe it's more of a coin flip than you think.
yeah, if that's the case, then Florida 7.5, it might be the easiest bet of the entire conference.
Let me
Because
look at their schedule.
besides Utah week 1, I'm not gonna ask Greg about that game. So I know where he's leaning there, and Utah's season actually kind of depends on that game
Yeah,
week 1.
it does.
so he's I know where you're leaning there. But after that, it's Kentucky, South Florida, Tennessee, Eastern Washington, Missouri, LSU, and then you hit a tough rough patch with Georgia, A&M, and South Carolina. That's 3 L's. I'll just give you the 3 L's right there, right?
Yep.
And Vanderbilt to Florida State. I mean, that's an easy schedule for me. You can't lose 2 games out of Vanderbilt, Florida State, LSU, Missouri, Eastern Washington, Kentucky, South Florida, and Tennessee. Right? And you take all the L's, right? You take the Utah L, take the South Carolina L, the A&M L, and the Georgia L. You still have 1 game to spare. I don't know. It seems like they're okay. I know Trask isn't there anymore. But I like this Florida Gators team, man. I really do. I think they're going to be a little gritty here coming out this year. I know they have kind of tough cornerback situation I was reading about. Their secondary is still okay, though their safeties are here's the thing, dude. Their safeties are their best players, which in college kind of works out sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like the Gators this year, man. I think over 7.5 is easy.
Yeah, the reason why I stayed away from it is I just think there's too many coin flip games, and if they just happen to be bad, it's tough. They lost, they lost a few players, so they have to replace. You just never know how that's going to go. They haven't been really good in a long time. Quarterback situation. There's a few different things. Also, too, like their over under last year was 6. Or the record last year was 6-7. So again, you're asking them to perform at the same level they did last year, a little bit better than last year.
Well, last year they sucked, so they better perform better. Yeah. Even for them, forget for betters.
But also too, I think their schedule this year is much tougher.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of +3s, -1s. There's a lot of games where the spread's like less than 3 or 4 points. So even Utah, you want to throw in there 5 points. There's going to be a lot of 1-score games, so you have to hope they go their way.
Yeah. I stayed away from them just because of what they lost. Like top 3 rushers lost, leading receiver transferred, leading tackler transferred. They lost a lot, and everybody's high on. I get why you're taking the over, John, because everybody's super high on Anthony Richardson. So I know people are probably taking the over because of him a lot, but I don't know. They lost a lot, and I know the running back from Louisiana transferred in with Napier, and he's really good. So you're counting on, though, a pretty unproven quarterback, and I think also a running back who hasn't produced at the SEC level yet. It's just a lot. There's a lot of unproven, and the conference schedule is hard, and I don't think they're going to win the Utah game.
God, I hope they do so bad. And that's for Oregon, not even for Florida. Actually, it's at 7 at -130.
They're off, but I don't know. Their offense was good last year. It wasn't bad last year. They had a lot of big plays last year.
They're good, man. Don't sleep on the Gators. It's hard to play in Florida too. Don't forget about that. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest home field advantages in the league.
They got to be able to run the ball, though. We'll see.
All right, what else you guys got here in the SEC?
I like one last over for me right now, and I'm trying to look up if Arkansas is ranked. They're ranked, I think, 19th in the preseason
So over under
polling.
7.
Over under 7. Last year they had 9 wins. So again, you're asking them to regress a little bit. I think that's typical of most teams, especially when you're in the SEC. There's a chance for a little bit of regression. With Florida, you're talking about trying to match or improve their record from last year. Here you could still lose another game and still hit your over. Looking at their schedule, though, their schedule is one of the toughest in the country. You draw Cincinnati out of conference. You draw A&M and Alabama. You have to go to BYU. It's a very tough schedule. So,
dude, they stink. Wow, that's a tough schedule.
At Mississippi State.
At Mississippi State could be tough. It's definitely a very tough schedule. But
the over?
Yeah, 10th best rushing offense last year, 17th best completion percentage. They're going to move the ball down the field. They're going to score. And I think that there's a shot here. Returning 7 on offense, including their quarterback. 4 on defense. So their defense is going to have to get back to where they were last year, which is kind of like middle of the pack. They're like in the 50s and 60s in most categories. But like kind of what we were talking about with Tennessee a little bit. It's like if you can be really good on offense in that 40s to 50s range in the SEC, I think that's enough to win some of these coin flip games that they're going to have. Because like we said, it's a tough schedule. There's so many 2-point spreads on here. 1, Cincinnati, BYU, Auburn, LSU, Ole Miss. 5 2-point spreads on here. So a lot of coin flip games. Some of those are at home. Some of those on the road. But again, a couple gambling facts. We are a gambling podcast. Arkansas 5-0 against the spread in September over the last 2 seasons, last 5 games. Arkansas 12-3 over last 15 games on the road as a top 25 ranked team in the country.
I'll tell you what, I'm gonna love South Carolina in that second game at Arkansas. If Arkansas is double-digit favorites against South Carolina, I'm gonna hammer South Carolina.
I agree because I do like South Carolina, but I think this season, they have to start out 3-0. They have to start out strong if you have a shot at winning this over 7.5.
Yeah, I agree with you. I that's kind of why I'm going with the under here, because I think they have a chance to start out 0-2. Yeah, I like Cincinnati and I like South Carolina.
Even without Gardner
or Desmond Ritter
or a lot. Well, they lost a lot, but I also still think they're going to be good. The quarterback who they have coming in after. By the way, their defense is still going to be really good. They still have good players on the defense. The quarterback who they have coming in after Cincinnati, I forget his name off the top of my head, but Prater, I think, something like that.
Okay.
But he's like a 4-star recruit. Yeah, he's supposed to be really good too. And they have a kid who transferred in from Eastern Michigan who used to be at Cincinnati, who also knows the offense well. I think the quarterback situation should be okay. I think Cincinnati's going to be good. Definitely good enough to win at Arkansas. I think Arkansas overachieved a little bit last year. We saw them play well, obviously, to start off the season. They started off 4-0, the signature win against Texas A&M. And then they kind of got smacked down to earth. I remember the Georgia game.
Yeah, against Georgia.
They lost the Auburn loss was bad.
Ole Miss by 1 point. Again, there's some tough ones.
That was a bad one. But it's also about the schedule. My God. Like it's not just about like who they play, it's about the road games. Jesus. Like at BYU.
Yeah.
I think Mississippi State's gonna be really good. I was thinking about taking their over, but their over is so juiced. It's like
it is crazy. A lot of these are.
Yeah. They got Ole Miss. Fortunately, Ole Miss and LSU at home. Although I don't know about LSU this year. But yeah, their schedule is brutal. I just don't see them. I know that this magazine here I'm reading has 8 wins for them. I don't see 8 wins here. I don't know. A lot of, like you said before, Greg, a lot of coin flip games here for Arkansas for me. Too
Yep.
many.
Yeah.
All right. Chip, what do you have here? Any other overs that we haven't mentioned?
Well, I already mentioned South Carolina. I said I'm super high on them. Just Shane Beamer, pretty much. I really high on him, like him a lot. Don't really, I mean, Greg kind of talked about them too, so I don't think we need to go too much into them. Just obviously Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma transferring in. I think we kind of forgot that Spencer Rattler is a really good quarterback and was going to be a Heisman contender, and I think he's going to be really good. And plus 100 on FanDuel over 6.5. I think that's a good number. I think people should take it. Non-conference, Charlotte, South Carolina State, and Georgia State. So they pick up those wins there. I look, they play in the SEC, but they get Missouri, they get Vanderbilt. That's 5 wins right there. Just got to pick up 2 more against the other SEC teams. Like they got Clemson to end the season. That's a tough one, but they got Tennessee at home. They're at Florida, A&M at home, at Kentucky, and then they got Georgia too, and at Arkansas. They can win 2 of those. So I like South Carolina's over. I think Jesus, I just what the quarterback's name? Jesus, I just Rattler. Oh my God. I think he's gonna have a big year. And I was thinking about putting a long shot Heisman bet on him, just do something crazy, but I don't know if I'm gonna go that nuts. But I think he's gonna have a good year. And my other over is Ole Miss.
I like Ole Miss.
Over 8.
Plus, I like them this year. They're always sneaky good, man.
Yeah, it's over 8. It's plus 100 on Barstool. I would get that one. I think Jackson Dart, quarterback they got from SC. I think Lane Kiffin just dominated the transfer portal. Like he just did a great job there. So their schedule is not that tough. Let me just make sure check on their out of conference.
Out of conference. It's very easy.
Yeah.
I mean, Tulsa, Troy.
Shout out Troy.
They're at Georgia Tech.
Yep,
Yeah, I think they easily start out 4-0. Troy, Central Arkansas, at Georgia Tech, Tulsa, and they got Kentucky at home, Vanderbilt, then Auburn. I mean,
yeah, there's a chance they start out 7-0.
7-0, yeah, and then they're at A&M. So, I mean, they could be 7-0 and almost at the over by the time they play at A&M, and then they got 4 tough ones to end the season at A&M, Bam at home, at Arkansas, Mississippi State. But I don't know. I think you can get 2 wins out of those. Yeah. So I think they'll beat Arkansas, and I think they could pull an upset on A&M if you want to consider it an upset. I don't know how good. If you want to consider A&M if you consider A&M a championship worthy team, I don't really see it there, but whatever. Okay. I love Mississippi State too, but the over's not worth taking. I don't really know what to do with Mississippi State.
You don't have to take them. You just leave them. Just let it be. Go on a week-to-week basis with them.
Bet them a lot is what I'm gonna do.
All right, deal.
Yeah, Greg. I like the under in this one, which Chip's kind of talking me into a little bit. My problem is it's just all the moving pieces. So they only bring back 5 on offense, 7 on defense. Lane Kiffin, I think, brought in a ton of transfers. But the question is, can they put it all together? I don't know. I just don't like when that's the situation. I like trying to, if you have some consistency, like Chip talked about on some of our other episodes, about like production, bringing back production. I think over the last few years, they've lost a ton of people. Where there's some great wide receivers in the league right now. Maybe there's a couple more coming, but Matt Carroll's gone. How good he was at Ole Miss. I think people have different opinions on that exactly, but nonetheless, he is gone.
And he's injured.
Yeah.
New coordinators too, right?
Yes.
Coordinators.
New coordinators. I think they have co-defensive coordinators, which I think we talked about that in an episode. I don't know how I feel about
I've seen that
exactly.
I've seen that in a couple places. I think they got co-offensive coordinators too, by the way. At Ole Miss.
Yeah, I just don't know if that's something where people are doing it now. So this way, when someone leaves, it's not like as big of a deal.
Probably.
Maybe. But yeah, new coordinators. I think some of these toss-up games can be tough. What I do like about teams, especially in the SEC, is like when you have an identity. So they're an up-tempo team. They're a decent offense. Defense leaves something to be desired, even though yards per game they were 16th in the country last year. So
all their Kiffin team.
Yeah, all their metrics were weird, but they didn't allow a ton of yards overall, which is probably the most important thing. So 10-3 last year. So again, you're projecting in some regression. I like that in the SEC, especially when you look at their schedule. I think there's a legit shot that they do start out, 7-0 here. The question is where do you get the next 2 wins? Maybe it's 6-0, maybe it's 7-0. You still need another win or 2.
Plus 350 to win 10 games, by the way.
Yeah, so maybe that would be the bet. I don't know.
Which they won 10 last year for the first time in the history of the school.
Yeah, I mean, they could. Yeah, so if you think they're going to win some of these games, like you said, LSU, A&M, Arkansas, if you think they have a shot at winning those, I don't think that's a bad bet if you like the over, but I don't know if they really do. At LSU, I think it's their best chance to sneak a win or home against Auburn. Other than that, like Bama's definitely a loss. Mississippi State's definitely a loss. I think Texas A&M, I think that's going to be a loss. Even though Texas A&M might not be like world beaters, like people are hyping them up, I still think it's a tough place to play in October.
All right. So Greg, what else do you like for unders here?
I got one left, John, and it's a doozy. I mean, I think everyone should be taking it just because I think it's one of the easiest bets on the board right now is the Vanderbilt under. I mean, everyone knows they stink under 2.5. I talked about it.
2.5 is so tough.
Yeah, I talked about it. I don't really like taking these, but if you look at their schedule, legitimately cannot find 3 wins. They're catching 14 or more points in.
They could be Hawaii.
Yeah, they could beat Hawaii, but again, your first game of the season is at Hawaii when you're in Nashville. That's kind of tough.
I mean, the second game versus Elon.
They're going to win against Elon, but then again, maybe they stink and they might screw that up. But say they win both those games, you need to win one more game. Who you win against?
Wake. You could win against Wake Forest.
They're 3 touchdown underdogs.
They're not beating Wake Forest.
Dude, Vanderbilt
Northern Illinois. Bad. Northern
Illinois won the MAC last year.
And they have to go to Northern Illinois.
Yeah. What's that Bama spread?
46. That's a lot of points.
Don't bet Vanderbilt.
No, I'm going to take Bama first half, but I'm going to lose.
I was going to say that's
I'm going to lose by a hook. I'm going to lose by the hook in the first half. I'm telling you right now.
That's a classic 24.5 point our first half, and it's going to be 24 or nothing.
I was thinking 21.5, but 24.5 is even better.
24, because even if you kick that field goal, like at the end, they're going to be like on the 12-yard line. You're going to be like, just throw it in the end zone, throw it in the end zone. They're going to kick a field goal going to half. But yeah, I just don't see 3 wins on the schedule. I think the only guaranteed only win is Elon. Other than that, at Hawaii is a tough place to play. I don't know if you guys have any other over-unders.
We already talked about Arkansas. I got the Arkansas under. We don't need to go into that. Arkansas under 7 plus 105 on Barstool. I think they overachieved last year. I got 2 other ones. Auburn under 6. We talked about Georgia Tech earlier and how lame duck coach. Feel the same way about Auburn. Lame duck coach. Everybody knows he's getting fired. The school tried to fire him last year. Yeah. So, I mean, unless they have some ridiculous season that no one expects them to have, I think he could get fired during the season. So they start off with Mercer and San Jose State. But then they got Penn State. They got Missouri, but then they got LSU at home, at Georgia, at Ole Miss, Arkansas at home, at Mississippi State, Texas A&M. Then they got Western Kentucky at home, and then at Bama. I mean, they could finish below 500. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty – I was surprised it was plus money. I think that's a pretty easy under. The lame duck coach angle I love. I just – Auburn is – man, talk about a program that's fallen off. Holy shit. Not many programs have fallen off more than Auburn recently. So I'm taking that under. And
a couple of those games real quick, Chip, that you mentioned earlier about like Penn State, Alabama. I think you said Mississippi State, maybe Texas A&M. They played all those
Mississippi
teams.
State, yeah.
They played all those teams last year, lost to all of them outright.
Yeah,
so
exactly. They lost. I mean, they just choked down the stretch. They lost like 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Down the stretch, I think, last year. They're so uninspiring. There's such a negative aura around that program right now. An under bet is great for that program, I think. And just one more under bet I have is Kentucky under 7.5 plus 105 on FanDuel. I know I love Mark Stoops coming out and talking shit back at John Calipari. I thought that was great, but I think again they've kind of overachieved recently. I love that they won 10 games last year, but let's face it, Kentucky is actually a basketball school. Let's be real.
Wow,
it is a basketball school. And I also think that Will Levis is being wildly overrated. I think that he is not this crazy stud quarterback. His numbers last year weren't super impressive. 24 touchdowns, 13 picks, 2,800 yards. I don't know. Is he really going to light the SEC on fire this year? Like he's being projected as a first round pick. Miami of Ohio. Me and Greg I don't know if we were talking about this on the air. We were talking about them to win the MAC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like both. I like Miami, Ohio to win the MAC. Yeah.
17.5 point spread that game is the first week, which is not a normal opener against a ranked team spread, cupcake team, allegedly. I'm definitely going to bet Miami of Ohio spread in that opener and probably bet them some money line just in case they pull the upset. Kentucky plays 2 MAC teams in the non-conference and they play maybe at least two of the top 4 MAC teams. They play Miami of Ohio and Northern Illinois. So they may beat both of them, but I think there's a possibility for an upset there. Those are 2 good teams. At Florida, obviously in week 2 is going to be a tough one going to Florida. They're at Ole Miss. South Carolina at home is going to be tough. I think Mississippi State at home will be tough. They're at Tennessee. That's going to be tough. At Missouri, they'll win. Vanderbilt at home, they'll win. And then they got Georgia at home. I don't think they'll win that. And they got Louisville at home, which they'll win because they just owned Louisville recently. But there's a lot of coin flip games there. I think maybe they come back to earth a little bit this year. They 4 returning starters on offense too. They lost a lot. I think they'll regress a little bit. And I'm high on Mark Stoops. I like Mark Stoops a lot. I think long term the program is in good hands. I just think maybe they have a little bit. This is the highest expectations have ever been with Kentucky football. So maybe they regress a little bit when the expectations are finally there.
Yeah, I'm with you on some of it. I didn't have really a good feel on this. Like to your point, they lose, was it Wendell Robinson to the NFL?
Yeah.
That was their leading receiver last year. Even though the team is really a rushing team, they still utilized him a ton to the point he's a 2nd-round pick out of Kentucky. So Kentucky
second in the SEC in catches and 2nd in receiving yards. He was really good for them.
Yeah, and even still, they were only 72nd in the country in passing yards per game. So they definitely ran the ball. seventh in the country in yards per rush attempt last year, 20th in rushing yards per game. So I like it. To your point about the under, when I was first looking at it, I was like, okay, I see 3 obvious losses at first with Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Georgia. So I was like, okay, you still need 2 losses. Florida could be tough. I don't know how I feel about Florida. So even that's 4 losses. Mississippi State maybe is a loss. I guess it depends how you feel about Mississippi State. So I think it's going to be close. I definitely could see why you're leading under. The other thing too for the under, what was it? They were 5-1 in games decided by 7 or fewer points last year. Like that just doesn't happen year over year.
And do you remember? Did you when you were looking stuff up? Do you remember their turnover differential? Wasn't it like something crazy? Wasn't it like they had a minus?
I don't think so. This says turnovers last year. They were 94th in the country at only 1.7 per game. And then on defense, they were 112th at 0.9. So I don't think the turnovers were crazy. They only had 12 takeaways last season, which I think is like really low.
They had a minus 11 turnover margin. Yeah, but they still went 10-3. That's what I was thinking of. That was very, very strange. I don't know. I think it's tough. A safe bet. I think they're due for a little bit of regression.
All right.
Last thing on Kentucky, though, real quick. We talked about Miami of Ohio. A couple stats I got for you here, Chip. Kentucky 8-2-1 against the spread in non-conference games. That's kind of not great. But what is great, Kentucky 10-0 in the last 10 games at home in non-conference games. So the Kentucky over 10-0. I like the over in the first week. I think Miami High was pretty good. Maybe they cover 21, maybe they don't, but I think they put up points.
And people have been hammering Miami of Ohio since the spread came out, though.
All right. Well, now that we're talking a little game-to-game spreads, I think this is a good time to get into week 0.
Okay.
You guys know the SEC?
Yeah, I think so. Any last want to go through and just list off our winners?
I got Bama winning it.
Yeah, I'm joking. Let's go to week 0.
I don't think we should need to go over it again.
Yeah.
Shout out to Florida. And honestly, because of Chip. Sorry, Chip.
Think about Skip Bayless.
Yeah. In this case, you might Skip Bayless here, because not only am I rooting for A&M to do well because of you, not only am I now completely against Tennessee, I now have a vendetta against Tennessee.
Oh my god!
For no reason except for you.
Why do you have to root against Tennessee of all teams? They already have enough. They already have enough bad stuff happen to them.
But there's nothing that's going to be more fun than watching Nebraska lose in Ireland to Northwestern as 12.5-point favorites. Can you believe that? 12.5-point Nebraska is 12.5-point favorites on a neutral field. That's unreal for me. Northwestern must be so bad.
They are.
They're unbearable to watch.
They are. And yes and yes.
They must be. Because I'm the idiot here that's definitely taking them plus 12.5. Week 0. And I'm putting it in a parlay. To be honest with you, with spreads that I don't understand.
With Bama to win the national championship?
No. Obviously, if I could add that, I would.
That would be great.
I would add that to everything. I would literally add, if I could add Alabama to every single parlay, I would. But actually, it's kind of relevant for the SEC episode where Vanderbilt is actually minus 8.5 at Hawaii. Minus 8.5. So I'm going to take Vanderbilt because I don't understand that. I'm going to take Nevada, who I think is one of the worst teams in the league, also minus 8.5. I think that's a special number for week 0 here. And I'm going to throw Northwestern in there at plus 12.5. 3 spreads I kind of don't get. Nebraska, Northwestern is the other way. I don't get why. Nebraska shouldn't be minus 12.5, even versus, I don't know, the Yankees. They're playing football. So, I don't know. That's my take on week 0. I'm hyped. Football's back, but I'm not crazy over these games. But beggars can't be choosers here. I'm probably going to take those three. They're spread out. One's at noon and the other two are at 10 p.m. So I'm hyped for Saturday.
All right. Okay. Well,
What do you like? What do you like, Chip? I'm just curious
fading
here.
on
This Ireland game.
In all three of those games, I'm fading.
Perfect. This is the perfect start, and it's exactly what I wanted. I couldn't have rolled that up any better.
Obviously, I'm taking Nebraska. I got Nebraska minus 13 in the Ireland game.
Oh, wait, I have a question.
How many times did you watch Northwestern last year, by the way? Did you watch them at all? Because I feel like people are
0.
still...
But you know who I did watch? Nebraska. And they're so bad. That's what this is based on. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm being honest.
I feel like people betting Northwestern are still thinking that this is like your older brother's Northwestern team that like got a pesky win every once in a while. They're really, really bad. Yeah. And if you're operating under the assumption that Nebraska is, well, you should operate on the assumption that Northwestern is too, because they stink.
I agree. Yeah. Listen, especially with college football, I'm an honest guy. I'm not, super deep into the rosters and the depth. We read magazines and stuff. I'm not reading magazines for NFL. Right? I know the NFL. I watch it. I know all the players. It's different. Here, sometimes I just fade teams, man. I just think 12.5 is crazy. I'm curious where the public is here that you have it up 13 and move to 12.5. I assume the public would be with Nebraska. So I'm curious as to why that moved the other way. It kind of is giving me a little bit more confidence here.
I saw it just move today, right?
You know what's interesting, man? I really like the double result games. Northwestern first half to win and second half to win just because it's in Ireland. It's weird. It's plus 800. That's crazy. I feel like I need to just sprinkle on that, even though just because it's weird, Chip. It's not.
Well, Nebraska has a new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. They could start out slow.
And they're in Ireland. That's
they're in
the fact
Ireland.
they're in.
But Northwestern's in Ireland too. It's a weird game. It's a weird game for both teams.
Under 50.5.
The under is.
I like the under. If I were betting it,
I don't know what the bets are on the under, but I feel like it's going to be. The under always has to be the popular bet in Northwestern.
Yeah, it's 79% of the bets. 73% of the money is on the under.
Yeah,
50.5 hasn't moved.
What about on the spread?
Nebraska, 44% of the bets, 73% of the money. So money's coming in on Nebraska. It's only moved a point. If it's moved a little, if it starts moving a little bit more, it might be worth noting a little reverse line movement on that.
Nothing was announced though. Like no injuries were announced for Nebraska. I know that. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So what else do you like here, Chip? You against Nevada? Even though you told me...
I'm more for New Mexico State. Like Nevada. New Mexico State? I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said last year they were one of the worst programs in the country, but they hired they hired Jerry Kill. They hired Jerry Kill who used to coach Minnesota, who I really like. I think is one of the most underrated coaches in the country. And he really reloaded through the transfer portal. Got a lot of good players, got the quarterback who I think they're probably going to start. They may start two quarterbacks, but the one quarterback won like the JUCO national championship last year in New Mexico. So I'm interested to see him play. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I think they'll be pretty interesting to watch, actually. And I've been tweeting about them a lot, actually. Been retweeting their stuff, the New Mexico State team. I may actually I'm going to try and get out some content about them, New Mexico State, because I'm going to be following them. I'm really high on Jerry Kill. I'm high on him as a coach, too. I just think he has a reputation as a program builder, just like a fix-it guy, and that's why they have him in there, because the program's been really bad for pretty much in its entirety.
Yeah.
But he turned around like Northern Illinois. He turned around Minnesota. He turned around it might have been Southern Illinois, actually. There was Division II teams that he did the same thing.
This is going to be such a fun year. You're so optimistic about the weirdest teams. Like,
yeah.
Gonna get smacked against Nevada. Well, I think some of the worst teams.
New Mexico State opened up as a 13-point dog. It's down to 9.
Yeah, I see it
It's
8.5.
getting 87% of the money though. That's the reason why it's moving.
And it's because of Jerry Kill. I think a lot of that is, and also the game is on ESPN too. Yeah, it's like the first time New Mexico State's been on ESPN, one of the ESPN networks since 2018. So there's hype because of the hire. Yeah, because he's a very well respected guy, and I think they. I also took New Mexico State's over too. I think it was, I forget, 2.5 or 3 or whatever it was. I'm gonna follow them all year long, so I wanted to take their over. Yeah, I'm very high on them, obviously, and I took Hawaii plus 8.5. Again, I love. It's more fading Vandy. Like,
No, but that line is so crazy, dude. I think
is
Hawaii
it?
8.5 for Vandy is insane. They're 2.5 wins this year, right? That's their
I know.
over-under.
Logic says to pick.
Minus 8.5. That's crazy.
Logic says to pick against Hawaii because they have 28% of their returning production coming back. They're tied.
This makes me want to bang the over so bad for Vanderbilt. If Hawaii's a win and Elon's a win, then we're literally talking about they have to win one game for the rest of the year.
I'm going to add the over probably in the Vanderbilt Hawaii game.
Greg,
But
you telling me Hawaii's gonna be a tough game, bro?
I think Hawaii is going to be a tough game. I don't think you just get up and travel Hawaii. Hawaii's not good, but neither is Vanderbilt.
yeah, that's the thing that makes it weird. Vanderbilt stinks too.
Yeah.
But by the way, Hawaii is tied with Nevada for least returning production in the country. 130, 131st,
Two teams that
28%.
absolutely can't stand. And that's why I'm taking them by 8.5 because it makes no sense.
Why can't you stand Nevada? What you got against them?
I just think they're going to be so bad this year. I was looking at their schedule.
By the way, you know who's 9th in the nation with 80% of their production returning?
Nebraska.
The Syracuse Orange.
Oh,
wow.
I can't wait to laugh at your face.
John, their 2 wins last year, by the way, Vanderbilt, their 2 wins was at Colorado State. They won by 3. And they won at home against Connecticut. UConn football, I'm talking about, by 2. That's tough. Hawaii has a lot of new people coming in. I think they have a new coach.
Yeah, the guy who used to play quarterback for him. Timmy Chang.
Yeah. So I think they're building something. I don't think they're going to be good this year. Don't get me wrong.
Don't tell me you're going to bet on a first-year head coach at his first game.
No, I'm not betting this game.
Okay.
I was at first. I found 3 other games that I liked more. I was at first going to bet Hawaii. But no, I ended up staying away. But I think,
so what do you like here?
I think by late in the night, there might be a chance I'm feeling frisky, and I just bet Hawaii money line though plus 300.
Yeah.
We'll see about that though.
All right,
what about
what's
the
your base
afternoon? Yeah.
What do I like in this week 0?
Yeah, close us off here. Week 0, baby. Officially done with our college preview. Close us out here with the week 0 picks, baby.
I'm trying to get it in order for you, but the first game I absolutely love is UConn versus Utah State. Week 0, give me that big old spread, 26.5. I love it. A 4 o'clock game on a Saturday in August. Ew, UConn has to travel to Utah State across country in a program that's the worst in the whole entire nation. No, thank you. I love Utah State. 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, could be 6 touchdowns.
I thought you were taking UConn for a second. I'm like, no. Okay, I'm taking Utah State too. Yeah.
Absolutely love Utah State. They won their was the Mountain West last year. They're looking pretty strong again this year. I got a couple facts about their last year they were 13-3 against the spread. Last 5 years, I'm sorry, 13-3 against the spread as a favorite of 10 or more points. So they're good when they're a big time favorite. I think their coach has been there 2 or 3 years, so that's most of that stat I think is under his tenure at Utah State. Like I said, they're coming off a big time season last season. I think they have a chance to maybe do it again this year, but definitely going to do it against UConn week 1. I think that's a great bet. My second bet's going to be, and I don't know if you guys have a read on this one, is a Florida Atlantic Charlotte. Florida Atlantic 8-0. The under last 2 years is a favorite of 7 points or less. I believe right now Florida Atlantic is a favorite of 7 points or less against Charlotte. It's 7 right now, or 7.5 in some books, depending on where it is. So I think I like the under in this one. The other reason why I like the under in this one too as well is like 75% of the money is on the over. So I like going against the public, especially right out the gate to start. So under 60.5, I like is the under for this game. And that's, was it 7 o'clock game. So Utah State's a 4 o'clock game. For Atlantic Charlotte, which I would never watch, but it's week 0, so I'm down for it. It's Saturday at 7 o'clock. And then to end the night, I absolutely love UTEP against North Texas. A little battle of the terrible Texas colleges going down week 0, 9 o'clock for that game. So you got something in most of the time slots. And let me see if I had it here. I think it was Florida, North Texas was phenomenal at running the ball last year. And then UTEP is another one of those programs I think that's been historically bad. And they were much better than expected last year. Pretty good run defense. They're returning a lot of people. So UTEP's home. I think the run defense maybe beats the run offense of North Texas week 1. And then also, I like the little fact here. Oh, 2 things. There's reverse line movement on the game. So the game opened at UTEP +2. Now I think it's UTEP minus 0.5 point on FanDuel, even though they're only getting 30% of the money. So you would expect with North Texas getting 70% of the money, the line's moving in their favor, but it's not. It's moving against them, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it's working. And then also UTEP or North Texas, I'm sorry, is 2-8 against the spread as an underdog of 7 points or more, 7 points or less. So now they're +0.5 or +1 probably by kickoff. 2-8 against the spread last 3 years as an underdog of 7 or less points. So I like UTEP to kind of end the night. Like I said, if I'm doing well and I'm winning, might throw Florida money or a Hawaii money line in there. But for now, I'm staying away just because I like these games a little bit more.
All right. Any last words, Chip?
So no one has anything on Wyoming or Illinois? Wyoming, Illinois?
I can only take so much pain.
Kind of like Wyoming.
That's my you had your under, Rick. That's my under, Wyoming, Illinois. I think that's going to be a goddamn snooze fest. And under 44, it opened at, I think, 47 or 46.5 or something. And I saw Illinois announce today Tommy DeVito is going to be their starting quarterback. He used to play at Syracuse. And to me, that just says, man, if their quarterback stinks, they're just going to run the ball a ton. And I think it's going to be a snooze of a game. And I like your pick with Utah State over UConn. And it's, I like the under with Wyoming and Illinois. But yeah, the Northwestern Nebraska, when the Northwestern Nebraska game is a marquee game, you know, it's a pretty rough day for games. But yeah, I like that's my last one, my Wyoming, Illinois under, and it's 44 I'm looking at right now.
John, last thing too, if you parlay my picks, I think it's plus 580 right now on FanDuel. So again, Utah State minus 26.5, Florida Atlantic under 60.5, UTEP minus 0.5 point. Last fact I'll leave you with, John, is I was all over Northwestern against Nebraska, but I ended up staying away because of the stat I have here. Nebraska 5-0 against the spread last 5 games. They traveled more than 1,000 miles. They're traveling like 5,000 miles for this game. So I don't know what their ATS is going to be abroad, but when they have to travel, they're good. So I'm a little nervous about that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Ooh, what a college preview. NCAA football college preview is officially over. Week 0 bets, small slate in the books for us. Check us out on Twitter, Winning P Weekly. We'll tweet them out. Follow us on our YouTube on Knicks, Jets, etc. period. Like and subscribe to the channel. You'll have the Jets, you'll have the Knicks, and you'll have us out there, the Winning Picks Weekly. Otherwise, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Any last words, guys?
No, NFL divisions and conferences next. And then we're starting up with
Real expertise.
weekly picks.
Your guys' expertise. I'm learning. Your guys' expertise.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's go.
We'll get you. We'll get you there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Texas is back, by the way. Those are my last words.
Texas is back. I was gonna say football's back. All right. I'll let you have that one. All right, guys. See you next week.